Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday. It's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, a few things that you need to know. First of all, I am in Blackpool at the moment. I've been in Blackpool since Friday, I think it is. It's now Thursday. It's Thursday evening, and this needs to be filmed right now. Ryland's been performing at the House of Secrets, and it's just been a manic week for us. So I've not even managed to make it back to the studio, so I didn't want you guys to not have a Q&A, so I'm filming it here in the Air B&B where me and the family are staying. It's kind of gone midnight, they're downstairs in bed, so I can't be too noisy, but I'm filming the Q&A now for you. So I'm sorry it's not in the normal conditions, and I will get back to that next week. The other thing that you need to know is that I don't do any research into these questions. You're getting my raw and filtered opinions. If I think a question is worthy of a longer reply, I will normally make another video about it down the line. And one final thing that you need to know is I typically, this is a bit different because I'm filming this on like midnight on Thursday night, but normally I film these on a Tuesday. So if you want to guarantee to get your question answered, please make sure you get it in by Tuesday at the latest. If I miss it, if I ever miss a question, I'm sorry. Ask it down below, and I promise I will get back to it next week. Now, with that all being said, there's a bunch of questions this week. I'm going to try my best to get through all of them without waking my family. Let's do it. We're going to get into this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Leo Cocello, who says, "Hi Craig, how would you change a card case color for the ending of a color changing deck routine? Thanks." Great question. How would you make how would you change the color of a card case? It's a very good question, actually. Okay, a few different ways. So first of all, I think there was a trick that came out a couple of years ago from Mark Mason, called Blue Illusion, I think it was called, where a card case changes and then the deck changes color. That's something that you might want to consider. That's something you might want to look into. The other option is if you have a card clip. The card clip is generally going to cover the whole of the card case. It's going to cover the whole thing. So what you could do is you could take the deck out, put the box away inside the clip, and switch the box and the clip in the action of taking a pen out for the routine or something. All the heat's going to be on the deck. There's not going to be any heat on the card box, and you just put it back in the clip, which is where you took it from in the first place. That would probably be a good way of doing it. Yeah, that would work. You'd have to do the switch on the offbeat, but I think that would be absolutely fine. What else could we do? Again, you could use a misdirection thing. So you could switch the deck and put the box to one side and it's already changed color, but you put full focus on the deck, on the actual deck of cards. But that might be a bit tricky in certain environments, but that's something that you might be able to do. I actually have a routine that's coming out at some point this year. It's not mine. I'm working on it on behalf of an incredible artist for Penguin Magic. So I'm going to be like hosting the project when I go over there. But one of the main routines for this particular gimmick is to switch a box right in front of the spectator's eyes, very visibly, for a regular card box. So, but you know, that's going to be probably towards the end of the year, so that doesn't really help you now. The other thing is you could put like a flap system in place. You know, if you know Modern Times by Henry Evans, that would probably work on the outside of the card box. There's something you could do there. And then the one final thing that I'll say is if you remember a trick by Masuda years ago, it was called Boxed Clever or something like that. They had, I'm sure it predates them, but this is the first time I think I properly saw it. They have a half and half card box. So one of the long sides and one of the sort of flat sides is one color, and one of the flat sides and one of the long sides is another color. And what tends to happen is, as long as you can manage your angles, you can take the cards out of a blue deck, for example, put the card case to one side, and then in the action of kind of doing like a through the fist flourish or something like that, it'll change to a different color. Now, the problem is the box is not examinable, but if the routine is constructed well enough, then that shouldn't be an issue. The only other thing that you could do, thinking about it, is switch it on the offbeat. You could take the cards out of the box, put the cards down on the table, and just say to somebody, hey, can I put the box away in your pocket? And as you walk over to somebody that's got an outside pocket in their jacket pocket, if you're doing a corporate gig or something, you'd switch the deck and you'd switch the box and you put a different colored card box in their pocket. They can feel the card box, nothing's going to seem weird. And then when you go back to it, the card box has changed. So a few different ways there, but look into that Blue Illusion by Mark Mason, because that is, I think, the thing that you're looking for. Okay, so the next question is MagicHuman782, who says, you've made a video on dealing with hecklers in close-up, but will you make a video on dealing with hecklers on stage? Honestly, a lot of the advice that I actually went through in the first video, it wasn't really about close-up, it was just in general. That advice also works on stage. It works for close-up, it works for stage. But if you guys want me to put a specific kind of video together on how to deal with hecklers in a stage environment, I can absolutely do that. That's not a problem at all. In fact, it'll probably be a fun video to do. So look for that in the next few weeks. I'll drop it on a Thursday or a Friday. I'll start putting it together when I get back from Blackpool. Okay, so the next question is from Dylan Williams Magic, who says, hi, Craig. I think it would be a great future video, the best closers for kids' magic shows. Yeah, I'm working on that at the moment. Also, do you have any advice for when it comes to performing magic for seniors, like nursing homes and living facilities with dementia? Okay, so that's another question, so we'll leave that one. So, do I have any advice for performing magic with seniors, like in a nursing home and living conditions with dementia? I've done quite a few of these in the past. And the first piece of advice I would give you is you want to keep it kind of very simple and very visual. This is not the time to do a really complicated pipe and slippers type card routine where you need their full attention and focus. You want to keep things nice and simple. You want to keep things nice and direct. You know, something like sponge balls, something like chop cup. That works perfectly. The other thing is, I've been to a lot of nursing homes where there's been, they wanted me to do a half-an-hour show or something. And I've said, hey, let me just walk around and chat to people, first of all, for half an hour, because I've found that really helps. Many times I've actually done balloon modeling and made simple balloons. I've tend to found that a lot of people that are in that situation love having balloons made. I've made balloon hats, balloon flowers. I'm not the greatest balloon modeler in the world, but I do well enough to be able to go around and make some balloons, making some balloons, chatting to them, saying how, getting into a bit of a conversation with them, and then doing that show later on, that half-an-hour show. That tends to be the way to go that I've found. But when you're doing the actual show, keep it nice and snappy. Don't have anything too long. If you want to put some pieces to music in there, go right ahead. And just do that. Just keep it really snappy, keep it really visual. And you'll find that it's not that difficult an audience. A lot of people think it's a really hard audience. It's not, as long as you just kind of have fun with it. Go in there expecting to have fun and just enjoy yourself, and make it really quick, really visual, and very easy to understand. Okay, we got another question from Dylan Williams Magic, who says, what's your favorite bill in lemon or bill to impossible location? For years, I used to do the bill to Destination Box, but I use Destination Box for a routine called Destination Mistake now, so which is on Netrix. So I don't tend to use the Destination Box anymore for a bill to impossible location, but that is a great way of doing a bill to impossible location. I do love bill in lemon. I tend to use, for a while I used Final Answer, which was very good. But these days I really use the Doc Eason handling. If you know the Doc Eason Bill in Lemon, that's a great way to do it. I pretty much do his routine. Doc's routine is incredible. If you're looking for a good Bill in Lemon, Doc Eason's is great, Bill Malone's is great. There's a lot of people with some really good Bill in Lemon routines. Outside of that, I think the best, and I've done this a couple of times, I haven't done it in a long while, but the best build to impossible location I've ever seen is the behind your back. This Michael Amar put this on Easy to Master Money Miracles Volume 3, I think. And the whole idea is that the bill ends up safety pinned to the back of your jacket that you've been wearing during the course of the show. Like, it is as good as it sounds and then some. It's really good. But yeah, so I'd say bill to behind the back. Now, Michael Amar has just put out a new, just put out a new tutorial for a bill in peanut style routine, which is incredible. It's just put out as a download with Penguin Magic. And it is very, very strong. And the methodology behind that shares a lot of similarities to the behind the back routine. And it's a great way to do a build to impossible location. So if you haven't seen the new download by Michael Amar that's just come out through Penguin Magic, go check that out, because that's a really great way of doing it as well. So yeah, the only other thing that I would say is a bill in pen cap works really well for a walk around situation. A lot of the time, if I'm going to do a bill routine, it tends to be bill to impossible location, because sorry, if I'm going to do a build, obviously it's going to be a build to impossible location. It's late. I'm going to do a build to pen cap, because it's very, very, in a walk around situation, very practical. Depending on the one that you get. Obviously, there's some with some very complicated setups that are phenomenal, a bit like Noel Coulter's, and to a lesser or greater extent, Nick Einhorn's. But Richard Sanders and my variation that's going on the Netrix soon of Richard Sanders' build to marker, they're really solid ways of doing it. So look for those as well. Look for a build to marker pen. In fact, you know what? One of the very first tricks that I ever published, and we're going back a bit now, was a signed build to impossible location routine, and I published it on the library on Magic Bunny. That's how old it was, and it was a really fantastic routine. It used the gypsy switch to turn. It used the gypsy switch. I borrowed a £10 note. And I used the gypsy switch to take a £10 note and turn it into an IOU £10. And the nice thing about the gypsy switch is that they're holding on to that silk handkerchief in a bag, where they're holding on to the corners of it. They are convinced that their bill's inside, and then boom, the bill vanishes. And what I would do is I'd take a pre-cut piece of flash paper, the same size as a bill, and I'd say, "Don't worry about it, we can fix it." And I'd tell them to draw a £10 note on there, and I'd say, "Hey, this forgery thing isn't a problem." And it was a really funny, engaging bit where they'd be writing, you know, what that picture of the Queen and all this sort of stuff, and then I'd fold it up and I'd grab a lighter, and then the lighter would light, and right there, their forgery turns into a real £10 note, and they unfold it and it's their £10 note. And that was one of the very first tricks I ever published many, 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 many years ago now. But it's still solid as a rock, and still works fine. Okay, so the next question is from Card Trick Academy, who says, "Hey Craig, love your channel. Thank you very much. My question is, do you think Inevitable Choice by Christian Grace could work in a Parlour setting? And if so, how do you think I could add this to my show? Thanks, Gavin." Honestly, I think that Inevitable Choice is probably the best place to do it is in a Parlour situation. It's not the sort of thing that you could do walk around. It's really not the sort of thing that you could do in sort of a banquet style, big table situation. I think it's ideal for Parlour. And how you would do it is you just figure out a way to put it in. Think about where the best place is to put it in. Now, what you have to consider in this scenario is that it's a trick deck, right? That's important. It's a trick deck of cards. So because it's a trick deck of cards, you're going to have to ring that deck in, and you're going to have to ring it out afterwards. So how are you going to do that? Are you going to do it? Because I don't think it's an opener. It's a bit too long for it to be an opener. And although it is strong, I don't think it's a closer either. I think it's somewhere that kind of goes in the middle of your act, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it means, how are you going to incorporate this in? What you don't want to do is take a deck of cards, put it away, bring this deck out, and then bring the other deck back out. You know, that's not what you want to do. So you have to think of a logical way of routining this in. Now, this could be that you're just doing one card trick in your show. It could be that you're using a deck switch and then you're doing this routine and then putting the deck away and going to a different type of prop like coins or something like that. But you do have to think carefully about how to incorporate it into your show. I would suggest it's a good trick to do at the end of a card set before you go into something else. With a parlour show, that might be, anything. Could be absolutely anything. Let's say you're doing cups and balls. So think about how you're going to actually ring this deck in. What's the procedure? Are you going to use something like the Cooler by Christian Emblem? Are you going to come up with a deck switch? Or are you going to come up with a justified way of switching the decks? That's something that you need to consider. So, yeah, it's fantastic for Parlour, but I think you need to think about where it places in your show and how to ring it in, how to ring it out. Okay, so the next question is from Michael Warsham, who says, a new to you comedy cube is Rubreaks Cube by Florida magician Jeff Williams. Yeah, Rubreaks, I remember looking at that, and Ryland had this for a while. Ryland actually did this in his act for a while. If you guys haven't seen it, if it's, excuse me, it's very late. If it's the one that you guys, that I'm thinking about, and I'm sure it is, it's like a breakaway wand with a cube, in that the cube, you mix it up, but when they take it and mix it up, it breaks into a million pieces. And it's perfect for a comedy magician. It's great. The only problem is the reset, because you legitimately have a cube that's like falling apart, and now you have to reset it. You basically have to take the cube and put it back together again. And the issue is, if you're doing it in kind of a walk around situation, A, it's going to take forever to put back together, but B, the other issue that you have here is what was I going to say? It's getting late. I had 2 points with this. So yeah, the first point is that you have to put it back together. The reset is going to take a long time. I did have another point on it as well. Can't remember what that was. Don't know. But basically, it didn't really suit my style. You kind of have to be the right type of person to be able to pull that off. Ryland doesn't do it anymore. He did do it for a while. It's a good trick. It's a good trick. It's, if you like the idea of doing a sort of a breakaway wand with a Rubik's Cube, absolutely, it's the way to go. Okay, so the next question is from Joy Gusler, who says, "Hi Craig, my friends have seen quite a bit of magic, and I want a trick that will cause them to freak out, like David Blaine stuff. I want people to freak out, maybe one card, coin, and mentalism trick. Thanks." The thing is, freaking an audience out, getting those David Blaine style reactions, it's not the trick. I could sit here and tell you about a million tricks that I think would freak somebody out. But it's not about the trick, it's about you as a performer. It's about understanding how to generate those reactions, what you say and what you do in order to get those reactions. That's what you need to focus on. That's what you need to think of. That's what you need to consider, if that makes sense. It's not so much about, well, go out and do this. If you actually think back to David Blaine's early specials, he was doing stuff like Ambitious Card. He was doing stuff like Two Card Monty. He was doing stuff that a lot of people would consider old hat these days. But people were reacting to them because of how he presented it and how he presented himself and how the magic came about. And he wasn't trivializing it, and people were taking it as almost real and freaking out about it because of that. So that's what I would suggest. It's not really, look, if you want to give me a coin, if you want me to give you a coin trick and a card trick and a mentalism trick, I will. Coin trick that's guaranteed to really get people freaked out is Sinful by Wayne Houchin, the coining can. You want to have a card trick that's going to freak people out, French Kiss by Wayne Houchin. Yeah, I'm a Wayne Houchin fan, what can I say? If you want to have a mentalism trick, hey, let's go Wayne Houchin all the way. Single Needle by Wayne Houchin. Anything like that will work. But it's not about the trick. You could have somebody take Sinful and do it and die in their ass with it. You could have somebody take a trick that you personally would consider to be not very good, and they could blow the roof off the building. It's all about presentation. It's all about how you actually present the trick. It's about how you actually engage with the audience, about what you say, what you do. So don't think about, I need a trick to do this, I need to do a trick to do that. Honestly, buy yourself something like Maximum Entertainment. Buy yourself a book that's going to teach you to really connect with an audience. That's how you get those freak out reactions. And the other thing I'll tell you is you say, hey, your friends have seen quite a bit of magic. Friends get jaded when they see magic. They just do. You know, if somebody sees something over and over and over and over again, they kind of get to a point where it's like, oh, okay, I've seen this now. So try performing to people you don't know. Try to perform to strangers. Walk up to a bar. Walk up to somebody at school you don't know. Walk up to somebody on the street and just show them a trick, because that's a real audience. Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Suter, who says, is there a magic product where you buy every single new version that comes out, although you already own plenty of them? No worries, I won't tell your wife. Yeah, there is a couple of things. So I am obsessed with the mystery card plot. I love mystery card. Always have, excuse me, very late here. I love the mystery card plot, always have, always will. I think mystery card is brilliant. Any sort of mystery card type thing, so mystery boxes, mystery cards, anything like that, I am an absolute sucker. I will buy them until the cows come home. I love that. And probably also magic wallets. I have an unhealthy obsession with magic wallets. And for the last couple of years, I've just used the Orphic wallet. I always just go back to the Orphic wallet. But I buy every wallet that comes out because I don't know why. I don't know what I'm looking for. I wish I knew. I wish I knew what I was looking for, but I seemingly am looking for something, but I don't know what. But yeah, I would say magic wallets and mystery boxes are the two things that I kind of get obsessed over. I also have a real obsession with illusions, which is a very expensive thing. And specifically illusions where people disappear and then come back. I'll see a new illusion where someone disappears and I'll be like, oh, I really want that. I don't need it. Don't need it. Got a warehouse full of the bloody things, but I always see a new illusion. I'm like, yeah, that's the one that I need to get. So there you go. That should answer your question. Hope it helps. Okay, so the next question is from 1581 Davis, who says, thanks, Craig, for answering my question and all you do for us. You're more than welcome. More than welcome. I messaged Gary Jones and his reply is, of course I don't mind Bud, and yes, you have the most poisonous snakes and spiders in the world. How do you cope? I break out even with mozzie bites. I live in Australia. There's the comment about snakes and spiders by Gary. I got bitten a few days ago. Yeah, I did, didn't he? No, I'll never forget going to Australia. I'm completely going on the sidetrack now. So I spent about 3 or 4 months in Australia kind of backpacking around. And I was staying with friends about a 20-minute walk away from the train station. And they were out in the sticks, right? They were out in the suburbs. And this was near Sydney. So I had to go to, I was, staying at their house for about a month before I moved on. And I would walk from the train station, 20-minute walk to their house. And I'll never forget, I will never, ever forget being told that... being the first day that I got there, they picked me up from the train station and I walked with them, and it was quite late at night. It was 11 o'clock at night, and there were these trees that were overhanging the pavements. These trees were overhanging the pavements, and I was just walking down the pavement, and they were like, no. And I'm like, what? And they were like, no, walk down the road. I'm like, why? And they said, well, there's going to be giant spiders that are going to drop down at night, and you're not going to see them, and they potentially could kill you. And I was just like, oh my God. So the whole time I was there, I was just constantly looking above my head. And if I saw a tree, I freaked out and I ran into the road. I almost got run over at one point late at night and trying to avoid a spider that I didn't even know was there. So yeah, Australia's great. It's a beautiful place. I'd definitely go back, but it kind of worries me that there's more things there that want to eat me and kill me than anywhere else in the world. But regarding Gary Jones, that's great. I will get to work on putting that on the Netrix. So thanks for letting me know. Okay, so the next question is from Ben Lazay 1883, who says, can extreme burn still be done with the new English notes? I guess the folds and change is difficult, right? Or is that that's what has been putting me off from buying it? No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's not a problem at all. Contact Steve Rowe. So Steve Rowe, if you can show him proof that you've got extreme burn, he will make you a custom extreme burn. And he sells like lottery tickets and kids' notes and stuff and Tyvek and he'll receipts and a whole bunch of different things. And he'll actually make you a custom extreme burn. The gimmick, his website's The Gimmick King. So go check out The Gimmick King. Contact Steve Rowe. Just tell him, say, hey, I'm looking to get a custom extreme burn. He can make it up out of UK notes. And honestly, there's virtually no difference. Okay, so the next question is from Divishan Magician. Hey, Divishan, hope you're well. Who says, when doing Leviosa, what do you do if someone wants to pick a card from the bottom of the from the bottom half instead of the top half? Just don't let them. Just don't let them. Just spread out the top few cards and just say, pick a card. And if you're very nonchalant about it, if you're very relaxed about it, then it totally won't be an issue at all. What you have to do, Divishan, is you have to learn to riff. You kind of have to just learn to make it up on the spur of the moment. So if you spread off the top few cards and they're not touching one there, you can carry on spreading down a few cards and say, come on, touch one. Kind of a sense of urgency is going to get them to touch one a little bit quicker. If you get to a point where it's obvious that they're not going for one in the top half of the deck, just close up the deck and say, hey, we've got to do this really quickly. I've got a bunch of people that I need to get around. Just grab one. And you know, I in the past, I've just said, hey, let me make it easier for you. Take that one. And it's kind of done in a kind of a tongue-in-cheek, jokey type of way. But that's the way to do it. Not that Jack was using a force, but look at Jack Rhodes on Britain's Got Talent. You have to learn to be kind of that. So when he was getting Simon to pick a card, Simon wasn't picking a card from the top of the deck. And he was joking around with him and creating a sense of urgency. And then he moved over to Amanda and said, actually, you, Amanda, you pick it. Do you want to pick a card? And it's all done as a big gag. But in that motion of moving to the side and then moving back to the other side, you can go back to the top of the deck and kind of just create that sense of urgency. You remember, you know, at the end of the day, you are the person in charge. They don't know what the trick is. They don't know whether they've got to pick a card or take one. So just, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter, but you just need to focus on audience management, I think is the word I'm looking for. Just riffing and just getting people to hurry. You know, as I say, look at Jack Rhodes on Britain's Got Talent in his semi-final performance, because that's a perfect example of how that should be done. Okay, so the next question is from David W465, who says, Craig, thank you so much for looking at my set list. I really appreciate your honest advice on these set lists. You've instilled me with confidence and given me loads to think about, and have echoed some of my gut feelings on my set. Thanks for taking the time to go through this. I wish I could be on the gold level to get into more detail. I'll keep my eyes peeled. I try to vary them, so I have a quick modular material and longer routines when time allows. So much of my residency, for example, relies on me to fuck on, fuck about, fuck off. So usually time to do one thing. It can be overwhelming to know what to do and escape before food arrives. Yeah, just get there, man. Experience is all it is. Anyhow, this was the question. I have a corporate gig in the diary, and I was wondering if you had any tips on incorporating the company's products into my magic. Whilst not requested, I thought it might be a nice surprise. It's a corporate family day. This particular company sells tools called screwdrivers, spirit levels, and joists. Well, first of all, don't feel like you need to actually do something like this. They're not going to expect it. And a lot of the time, if you go to the trouble of doing this, a lot of people don't even care. But it is a nice thing to do. It is a nice thing to do. It is going to take you time to think through exactly what you're going to do, but, you know, it is a nice thing to do. So if they're selling screwdrivers, spirit levels, joists, the first thing you might want to consider is All Screwed Up by Doc Eason. So All Screwed Up by Doc Eason is a fantastic trick to do. And it uses screws and bolts, so that would fit the theme absolutely perfectly. You could also put together a digital force bag list of 100 of their product lines. So just go for 100 different product lines, and then you can create a prediction. So you can have a prediction in some capacity. It could be a prediction, I don't know, that you give out to people when you walk over. It could be a prediction written on your t-shirt, whatever you want to do. But have a prediction based on a digital force bag list of their products. That would be a good way to go with that. it depends on how, one thing that I've done, there's a really nice, easy way to theme things for a corporate environment, is to have 4 blank cards. And you walk up to a group of people and you say, hey, I want you to, each one of you, write a different product that your company sells on one of these cards on the blank side. So you give them 4 Sharpies, 4 cards, and each person writes a product. So they all write 4 different products. And then you take them back, you put the pen away, and then you do twisting the aces with them and the last trick of Doc Daily. Both of those routines work regardless of what you're using. You don't have to use playing cards, so you can use just blank cards. But if they've written on it, and a pro tip is to have 4 different colored Sharpie markers. So you're giving one person a red pen, one person a blue pen, one person a green pen, one person a black pen. Get them to write down the product, and then take them back and you say, right, I'm going to show you something. And you can incorporate those products into your patter. So you can say, hey, so I've got all the 4 of these cards. I went to, and each one of them is a different product. I want to imagine that you're having a meeting about one particular product. And I want you to imagine that product is front and center, and that needs to appear on the on the screen, so you can do a PowerPoint presentation on it. And you count through the cards, and the first one's turned over, and you say, well, let's now imagine that we're doing a second product. So you can build a presentation around it however you want to, or you can just do it as your normal presentation. And if you follow that up with the last trick of Doc Daily, it's a fantastic way to incorporate a company's product line into your performance without actually making too much of a fuss over it. And you can give those cards away to the 4 people that have helped you at the end. And if you carry around a deck of blank-faced cards, you can do that over and over again. So that'll give you a few different ideas that you can use. There's probably 1,000 more, but honestly, like I say, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you do want to do it, that's great, absolutely, but don't feel like you need to. Okay, so the next question is from Bryce Elphia, who says, hi, Craig. Hope you have an incredible week. Yeah, really good week, thank you. 2 questions. Would the silver level on the Netrix have enough advice and knowledge to take me from a keen amateur to a full-time magician, or would you instead recommend for the gold level to open up? Well, silver level's got a ton of information about marketing. It's got a ton of information about setting up your business. It's got a ton of information about how to actually go from beginner to pro. So there's a load of information on there, but there's no substitute to one-on-one mentoring. So the best way to do it is the gold membership. Like I say, there's at least 4 people in the gold membership that came to me with no website, no gigs, no nothing. And very, very quickly, they got into a position where, they're now doing full-time work. So the gold membership will be opening up again at some point down the line. So when it does, try and snag yourself a slot. But the silver level has still got a lot of information in there. Now, the second question you've got is, how is Matt coming along with Level Up? Would love to see an update video on that. Also, any more magical advice videos with the 2 of you would be great. I really enjoyed the sales advice video. Many thanks to everyone at Magic TV. Yeah, we're doing some more advice videos. I've been away this week and Matt's been really busy, so it's not been appropriate this week. But we are doing an awful lot more of those because they did seem to be very popular. And yeah, the Level Up stuff, we are going to be starting work on that, not next week, but the week after. You wouldn't believe how busy we are at head office. I mean, it is insane. We're all running around like blue-ass flies, and we are very, very busy. So we haven't really had much time to do the Level Up stuff, but we will be getting to that as well. Yes, all of that you've asked about is definitely coming. Okay, so the next question is from Dodgy Wheel, who says, hi, Craig. My dad is over 70 and loves magic. I'd like to get him an EDC that he can perform for his friends down the pub. Can you recommend a trick that doesn't break the bank and doesn't require sleights or memorizing lots of info that would be good for Father's Day? I have Infinity on my list for Father's Day. Well, Infinity is very good. Something that he can take down the pub and show his mates. Something that's an everyday carry. Something that doesn't require much memory work. Chroma is a good shout. It came out recently by Mark Lemon. That's completely self-working and you don't need any memorization for that because everything's right there in front of you on the card. So that would work really well. I'm trying to completely eliminate any slights here. EDC works really well, although if he's 70, he might struggle with his eyes, reading the crib, so maybe that's not the best route to go with that, because there is a crib there, but EDC is really, really good. Obviously, I'm biased because it's mine. Trying to think. There's so much good EDC magic. I'm trying to think of something, because you put a lot of stipulations here. No memory work, nothing difficult. Okay. Darn, this is hard. This is harder than I thought it would be. Much harder than I thought it would be. I'm trying to think. One that keeps coming back into my head is Lie by Chris Congreve, that has just recently come out by Alakazam. That is it's a self-working trick. You need to carry a deck of cards around with you, but it's a self-working trick. That would work really, really well. The other thing, actually, I'm kind of on a roll now. Yeah, the other thing that I could mention, going down the Chris Congreve route, is Cloak. Cloak is completely self-working. There's no memorization, and I think people would really like that down a pub. The end reveal is something that I think a lot of if you were doing it to mates down a pub, it's the sort of thing that people would really get a kick out of. So I'd say Cloak by Chris Congreve would also work there. To be honest, I think Chris is the king of the self-working EDC when it comes to that sort of thing. I really do. But I would definitely go with that. Maybe Canopoly. And talking about EDC, there's a lot. What's his name? Steve Della has got a fantastic version of Free Will that you can get from Alakazam. It's based on a page out of a book, and there's not really any memory work there. That's kind of really good. So any of that would work and would be self-working. If he's into films, and specifically horror films, you might want to consider Monsters, because that is just a super easy trick to do that I bought out through Alakazam. That would work really well as well. So any of those would be great. If you're looking for a card trick, which isn't really EDC, but if you're looking for a card trick, I did a video recently about some of the best self-working card tricks. You might want to go to that. Or if you're wanting something gimmicked, like an invisible deck or a mirage deck is really good, or superimpose that I just bought out through Penguin Magic, that would do the trick as well. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Cox Magic, who says, do you think it would work starting a walk-around set with something like Knock 'em Dead and then going into Evoke, transitioning by saying, I like to make my magic more meaningful than playing cards? Yeah, you could do. That works as a transition. You know, you kind of start off by doing a really kick-ass card trick and then saying, you know what, the problem with cards is you can't relate to them. Be honest with me, how often do you play cards? Probably not very often, right? So let's start talking about emotions. You know, because every day there's thousands of emotions that are running through our head. So let's do something to do with emotions. I think that would be a really nice transition from card tricks into Evoke. Yeah, try that out, Archie, and let me know how it goes. I think that's a really good idea. Okay, so the next question is from Elkie, who says, hi, Craig. Bit of a personal question, but hopefully it'll have some sort of resonance. Lately, I've been really struggling with the feeling that I'm just not cut out for magic. I'm a hobbyist, so I'm not feeling any monetary pressure from this, but I still constantly feel like I'm just not good enough at anything to be worthy of being in this art form. Despite having years of experience and knowing some great material, I still consider my repertoire to be zero. It's made it impossible to practice apart from a couple of idle slights, because every time I try, it just reminds me how shit I am. I want to continue doing magic, partly because I've made some amazing friends, and partly because I'm working on some projects I think are important under the guidance of some top talents, but I'm not sure how to continue. How do you keep the faith? Wow, that's a really, really deep question there. How do you keep the faith? The problem with this industry is you can make a lot of really good friends. But a lot of people in this industry are quite egotistical. A lot of people in this industry like talking about how amazing they are. They offer advice, which is ironic because that's what I'm doing here. But they offer advice in Facebook groups without any basis of knowing who they are or what their experience is. I go into Facebook groups all the time and I see people offering advice which is just flat out wrong. And I don't say anything, but you know, I see that happening all the time. And I think the problem is this is less about magic and this is more about self-esteem. You say it right there. Every time I try to perform or practice, it just reminds me how shit I am. First of all, understand that you're not shit. Okay, that's something that you need to understand. And we have to remind ourselves, and I get imposter syndrome all the time, by the way. Every single day, if somebody turns around to me and goes, "Oh, Craig, you're really good. Oh, you're my favorite creator," I kind of almost think, are they taking the piss? Just because, let's be honest, I'm not the quintessential creator stroke performer of magic. I'm not the face of any company. If you pick the face of any company, you wouldn't pick the bald-headed big bloke with tattoos, would you? Let's be honest. I'm just not that guy. You know, you'd pick a Blake Voigt, you'd pick a Chris Rawlins, you'd pick a Joshua J, you'd pick an Andy Gladwin, you'd pick somebody like that. You wouldn't pick somebody like me. And I, quite often, honestly, more than you'd probably realize, and a lot of the time after I've read a bunch of comments telling me how shit I am, which again happens a lot, I kind of just sit here and I think, you know what, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe it's just best if I don't really kind of carry on doing Magic TV. I've had that feeling so many times over the last few years. That feeling of self-doubt, that feeling of low self-esteem, imposter syndrome, call it whatever you want to. I've had that. But you say it there. You love magic, and surely that's what it's all about. You know, you're a hobbyist. Magic is the best hobby in the world. You don't have to go and perform if you don't want to. You don't have to go out and, learn new tricks if you don't want to. But don't give up on something that you love. It's obvious that you love this. You're asking a question on a channel designed specifically for magicians. You spent time typing that question out. It's obvious to me that you love magic. And if you love magic, then just don't put so much pressure on yourself. Don't put so much pressure on yourself where you're kind of constantly thinking to yourself, oh my God, I'm shit. Don't do that. Instead, just remember why you fell in love with magic in the first place. What was that reason? What was that reason that you fell in love with magic? Because everyone has it, right? Everyone has that moment where you fall down that rabbit warren, where you start to realize, oh my God, magic is absolutely amazing. I love this. Figure out what that was. Why was it that you fell in love with magic in the first place? And try to recapture that. And anything that you do that makes you feel negative or makes you feel down, whether that be people or whatever it may be, remove yourself from that situation. But I, for one, am telling you that you're not shit and not to give up. Yeah, because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you want to quit, if you want to give up, if you want to stop doing magic, fine. But do it because you want to do it. Do it because you want to quit, because you don't enjoy doing it. You hate it. You hate the thought of doing magic. But if you still love it, and the only reason you're wanting to cut ties with magic is because you think you're shit, well, you know, without being funny, slap yourself around the face and remind yourself that you're not. Okay, so the next question is from user UQ6JB2TJ7M. That rolls off the tongue. Ditto on closers for kid shows. Many thanks. Also, how about openers for kid shows? Yet another could be great on callbacks, running gags for kid shows, a kind of a transitions exploring, but for kid shows. Love your work and have all your non-coin material. Entering coins work, but it's daunting. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm doing a lot more videos on kids magic over the coming weeks. I want to spend a lot more time because I'm seeing that so many people wanting to get into kid shows. So yeah, I'm definitely doing more, and that will be coming soon. Okay, so the next question is again Agent Suter, who says, "Hi Craig, my favourite Magic dealer had a clearance sale recently, so I bought several decks of playing cards with special designs. I want to put them up on a display shelf in my living room. Every deck's set up for a different trick, so I could show guests a trick if they find the one of the decks particularly interesting." Wow. Question: what are some great card tricks that require a setup and no gaffed cards? It's a great question. Absolutely fantastic question. I'm not going to answer it. And the reason I'm not going to answer it is because I have a video on this coming in the next couple of weeks. So I've got a video of the 10 best tricks that require a full deck setup that you've ever seen. So you want to look into that. That will be coming soon. I will tell you, Call to the Colours by Aldo Colombini will be there. JC's Super Closer will definitely be there. So there's 2 that you might want to look at if you haven't already done so. Further than that will definitely be there as well. So that's 3. So look out for those. It's a video. I'm probably going to do a couple of videos, and it's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so the next question is from Jason Staples, who says, "Hey Jason, hope you're well." He says, "Hi Craig, hope you're..." Yes, I am well, thank you very much. "My question is on the Nightshade project. What's the best advice for routines for someone new to coin magic, please?" Right, if you've got Nightshade, then very simply, the first 2 tricks you should look at if you are new into magic is throw coins and the ultimate copper silver, and then the 2-coin trick. Look at those 3 first. The 2-coin trick, the ultimate copper silver, and throw coins. Those 3 are all very easy. There's not really many moves to do with them, but it's going to make you look like a coin god. Okay, so the next question is from Divishan Magician, who says, "Do you do silk to egg ever in table hopping at weddings, restaurants, or is it really just a stage parlour trick?" Really, Divishan, it's just a stage trick. You could do it in Walkaround, but the problem is that there's 2 issues. The first issue is, in order to prove that the trick is that it's not a trick egg at the end, you have to break the egg, which means that you're going to have to carry a bag of eggs around with you and put them somewhere where they're not going to get smashed. Second of all, you're going to have to carry that egg in your pocket until you are ready to perform it. And you don't want to have an egg in your pocket. I always do silk to egg near the opening of my show when I do it, because I'm just worried about having this egg in my pocket. I literally don't want to have egg all over my jeans or my trouser pocket. So that's something to really consider, buddy. Like, really seriously consider. If you want to do silk to egg in a walk-around situation, there's 2 things that I would suggest. First of all, look at Transformate, which is by John Morton, and it's a Saturn Magic product. And he had the absolutely ingenious idea of doing a silk to pool ball, 8 ball specifically, which is designed for a walk-around situation where you take a silk, you put it in your hand, it turns into an 8 ball, and then you explain how it works. There's a hole in the 8 ball, you do it again, but the second time it turns into a real 8 ball. That is a way of doing silk to egg. It's obviously slightly different, but the routine is basically the same. Transformate is brilliant. It's a great way of doing silk to egg walk around. The other way of doing it is Bond Lee released a version of silk to egg, but he did silk to Rubreaks Cube. Now Ryland actually does this in his show. It's a mini Rubreaks Cube. So he takes the silk handkerchief, pushes it into the hand, it turns into a mini Rubik's Cube, and then he explains how it's done, blah, blah, there's a hole in the Rubik's Cube, does the same thing again, now it's a real mini Rubik's Cube, and then he brings out a big cube, and that matches the mini Rubik's Cube, and then he solves both of them. And then it's reset, ready for the next table. And that's a Bond Lee trick. You can get that from MS Magic. So Bond Lee, MS Magic, that's the silk to cube. And Transformate, transform with an 8 at the end, that's by John Morton, and you can get that from Saturn Magic. Both of those would be a much better option than carrying a silk to egg and a real egg around with you at gigs. Okay, the Amazing Spaghetti says, for a lightweight case that's kind of big, One option is a food pizza delivery bag. Some have straps, so you can use it as a backpack. They come in all shapes and sizes. Most have plastic wall inserts, so they're rigid. Some with adjustable shelving. To make it look better, you can attach fabric over it or get creative. I carry a leafer-style suitcase table, along with big pizza delivery bag with shoulder straps and a small lightweight suitcase. And I can carry it all at once. Very good advice. Thank you so much for posting that. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the next question is from MCK Magic, who says, "Hi Craig, I had a kid show yesterday and I was performing in the garden under a gazebo. It was very windy and my case kept slamming shut. The kids left about 5 minutes short at the end to play on the bouncy castle, so I stopped and did my balloon modelling that I've built into my show. Should I have stayed for the extra 5 minutes and done magic for the 4 kids left? There were probably 11 in total, or just done what I did. Thanks for the Q&A every week, filled with so many nuggets of information." Okay, so a couple of things to unpack here. So first of all, I'm very loosey-goosey when it comes to telling the client what happened. So in my company, we tend to typically go for 2-hour party packages, and we're very loose with the timings. We'll say, hey, there's a disco on arrival, then there's a magic show, it's going to run about 30 to 45 minutes, and we're not very specific about how long the show is. And the reason for that is it's going to allow us to cut the show back earlier. And that is an option that's always open to you. If you are doing a show and you've lost a couple of the kids and you're worried that more are going to leave, you can always stop the show and go into something else that will grab their attention and get them back in the game. So that's the first thing. You are in control. You are the pro. The second thing is, with more experience, you will find that you will be aware that the kids are losing interest before they realize. When you've done enough parties, when you've done enough events, you will realize, hang on a minute, I have a feeling these people are going to lose interest at some point soon. Right, okay, I need to do something about this. And then you can use tactics to keep their attention. So let's say you're 35 minutes into your show. You've got 10 more minutes to do. You can feel that they're maybe losing their energy a little bit, and you've got one last trick that's going to last 10 minutes. You could turn around to them at that point and say, guys, I'm going to do one last thing, but you have been so awesome, so I want to ask you a favor. I want to make everybody a balloon model to take away with them. Who would like a balloon? And they'll put their hand up. Okay, if y'all want a balloon, then I'm going to give every single one of you a balloon, but you've got to help me with this last trick, because this last trick is really super difficult. I can't do it on my own. Anybody who stays here and helps me, I'll make you all a balloon. Now, you might not want to make a balloon, but it could be sweets. So you could produce some sweets at the end of your show that you give every kid a sweet. It could be something like that. Something that, it could be a sticker. It's something that the kids would want, that you can give them, that's not going to cost you much money. Because then you can tell them 10 minutes beforehand, I need your help. If you do this, I'm going to do this for you. And that will bring them back up and regenerated, revitalized. So that's a technique that you can do. That works really well. Don't be afraid to learn a couple of games. You know, a lot of the time, there's games out there that feel like a magic show, but they're not. That feels like a magic trick, but it's really more of a game, or it's a game with a magical payoff. And they're great to play because you can vary it up at the end and say, hey, who wants to play a game? Whilst in actual fact, it's still a magic trick. So a couple of examples of that are John Kimmo's race game. John Kimmons. If you don't know him, he co-runs the Tricks in the Sticks convention. He has something called a race game, and he has lots of different variations of it: space race and dino race and balloon dog race and this race and that race and the other race. But it's a really fun game to play, and it's kind of got it feels like a magic trick as well. So it doesn't look out of place in a show, but from the kids' point of view, it's like a game. And that's super fun. Another example of something that's kind of similar to that is the two-headed prediction. It was put out by Vanishing Ink a little while ago. That's great, you know, when you're getting the kids and the adults to compete against each other. That's going to revitalize the kids. And sometimes, especially with younger children, it's a case of revitalizing them and giving them something to get interest back into the show. So that's the first thing I'd say. The other thing I'd say is always try to insist on having the bouncy castle put down during your show, because you don't want that distraction. You just really don't. And I can see that somebody else has said the same thing. The Amazing Spaghetti said the same thing. And you said that that they switched it back on. You got them to switch it off, but then they switched it back on. The mom switched it back on and the dad switched it off. What I would do is I would have that conversation with them ahead of time. This is part of the customer journey. So before you even get to the gig, you go, hey, have you got a bouncy castle? You have. Right, here's what I advise. And you speak to both of them on speakerphone, not just one of them, both of them. Here's what I advise. I would advise that just before the show, you put the bouncy castle off. You can put it right back up afterwards. The kids aren't going to miss out on the bouncy castle, but it's really a lot easier for me if I've got their attention. And the best way to get their attention is by making sure that they can see me and they can understand me. And that's the best ways to avoid distractions, by getting that bouncy castle down. If you speak to both of them at the same time, you explain why it's important. And try to give them a reason as to why it's important, so that it benefits them and their kid as opposed to just you. Don't just go, I need it down because I'm going to struggle without it. Say, hey, I need it down because I really want to make sure that that your child has the best experience at this party that they can have. And the way that I'm going to do that is by giving them an amazing show, but I really need to get their attention, and any distractions is something that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for me, and blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. But there's some tips. There's some stuff that you can incorporate straight away that hopefully might help. Okay, so the next question is from Jay Plays, who says, you say you want to add 5 places to the gold section of the Netrix. Is it maybe an idea that you make 3 places so you can keep 2 places as an option for people to book you for a gold consult hour? I bet there's a lot of people, including me, who would pay for you to help them for a consulting hour. It is an idea, but I'm curious what you think about it. My wife has suggested that I do that. My problem is what I like work. So the reason I like working with people is to see them improve and grow and get better over time. And I get like warm and fuzzies when I'm helping them hit their goals. If I'm just doing kind of a one-off session, I that's not going to kind of, I don't think I'd have as much impact. I don't think I'd have a great deal of impact with one session. Maybe I could give some advice, maybe I could give a little bit of support, but I think my skill, if I've got a skill, is by working with people every single couple of weeks and really kind of trying to take them to the next level. And that's really the way to do that, is by having people on a regular basis. So I don't know if I'd do that. If my wife had her way, then I would. But I'm probably going to get my way on this one. Okay, so the next question again is from Jay Plays, who said, where is the Drunk Magic Ukulele Player? He's always good for a laugh with the most random questions, and I miss that. I've been sitting in this chair so long now. Yeah, I agree. I'm sure he'll pop up again sooner rather than later. He never did post every single week. He popped up. I met him live once. He came into the House of Secrets and bought a ticket to see Ryland's show, and I was chatting to him. Super nice guy, and his partner was super nice as well. Really, really nice. So hopefully, hey, Drunk Magic Ukulele Player, if you're watching this, I want another question down below. Okay, the next question again is from Jay Plays, who says, do you know if there's any Svengali decks available where at least one side is blank so you can write on it? David Jonathan and Alec Azam put a project out like that. I think it's called Blank Sven Cards, or I can't remember. Ask Alec Azam, send him an email. There's definitely something that Alec Azam and David Jonathan released that kind of have that sort of thing. And I think it came about as a result of David doing an Alec Azam Academy. And off the back of the Academy, they released something as a product. But I'm not 100% sure that's really an Alec Azam question. But I'm pretty sure what you're looking for, they have. One last question. The final question today is again from Jay Plays, and he says, what's your thoughts on Joel Miranda's trick Equaliser, and do you have any ideas with it? I've got it. It's sitting on my desk at my office, and I plan on reviewing it. I've been planning on reviewing it for the best part of a year, and I've not got round to it yet. I've always liked Ear by Jeff Williams, and this seems like a massive improvement on that. It's just I haven't had time to look at it, and I will do. And when I look at it, I'm sure I'll have some ideas. And if I do, I'll post a video on it. But as far as I'm aware, it's everyone I've spoken to raves about it. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. I'm going to bed. I'm so tired. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A. Thank you so much for dropping in and chatting with me this Sunday afternoon. Don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. There's going to be another review show special going up Sunday evening, so make sure you look out for that. There's going to be a Magic Live. Make sure you check out the Talk Magic from yesterday. And we've talked about it a couple of times in various questions, but if you want to join the Netrix, go to www.thenetrix.com, not .cookies.com. It's my online streaming platform for magicians, and you can go check it out and see what all the fuss is about. I'm going to bed. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.